There's nothing more refreshing than a glass of nice cold Rams tears. That was an amazing win by Boise State, coming in and crushing Colorado State at home. Boise State 49, Colorado State 10. And they had a chance to have a little bit more than 10. Boise State stopped them on the goal line, getting an interception right there at the end of the game to keep it a nice, even 10 points here for Colorado State. A great win by Boise State, a game that they were favored to win heavily in, but we all know that that hasn't necessarily always worked out for Boise State, especially in recent years. Whether Boise State's been even able to get the win has been a question at times, and if they do get the win, they are very rarely, at least in recent experience, been able to actually get the over or make the spread that Vegas has given them. Well, Boise State favored in 28 points in this one, actually winning this game by 39 points, so well over the spread. Boise State, a completely changed team, completely changed from the beginning of the season where they were struggling to beat teams of lower quality here than Colorado State, now winning big at home. We're going to talk about this game today. We're going to grade the offense, the defense, special teams, and then we'll see how Boise State did against my keys to the game. A big win here by the Boise State Broncos at home. So let's start right off the bat here with offense. I think I figured it out. Dirk Koetter, at this point, is just showing off. He is just showing off that he is one of the greatest. When you look at experience-wise, there is no offensive coordinator in college football right now that tops him in overall experience. How many other offensive coordinators in college football? I've asked this question before, but how many other coordinators in college football have as much coaching experience? How many other coordinators are former NFL head coaches and coaching at the collegiate level as offensive coordinators? Dirk Koetter, he said it, he's not coming back. This is his 1 year. He's helping out the team. He's letting Boise State kind of interim period, allowing Boise State to come in and get someone else to take over the reins going forward. So he said this is not long term. But what a blessing it is to have a coach of his experience being able to come in and show off like he has. Boise State, 500 yards of offense today, which they've gotten to, they've gotten to previously here for Boise State under Dirk Koetter, I believe, or very close, but they did it in a completely different way than any of the previous games so far under Dirk Koetter. Versus, we've seen 300 yards of offense before, and that's been through the run game. Well, today we had 300 yards of passing by Boise State. Again, a run-focused team, a team with a quarterback that a lot of people have questioned his throwing ability, passes for 300 yards. And we saw everything in today's game. We saw drives where it was all run, pretty much. It was the hard-nosed, run-based offense that we saw against Fresno State and against San Diego State. We saw times today on drives where it was pretty much a straight-up RPO, where, they were focused on the short passing game, using the run to set up the pass, and then the short passing game using the screens, and almost entire drives of that ending in touchdowns. Like we saw much against Air Force, a lot of those RPO type of plays. And then we also saw where they just went straight up deep mid-passing game, basically passed at every play, and those drives ended in touchdowns. Boise State, in all phases of the game, was completely unstoppable today. Now, it should be noted that Colorado State is not a world beater on defense. They are one of the worser defenses in the country, and definitely in the Mountain West as well. We talked about it previously. I believe we said they were 70th or 75th overall against the run, 50th against the pass. So, they're okay against the passing game, but not today. Boise State definitely exposing some holes. So this was a great game by Boise State offensively. I mean, they went after Colorado State, their statistical strength there, 50th there against the pass, and blew them out of the water. The running game, again, strong, 209 yards rushing by Boise State today. Averaged over 4 yards per carry. They had 3 different running backs all involved in this game heavily throughout in Halani, Jenny, and Noah. Noah finishing out the game for Boise State. All of them with great performances. Halani had 3 touchdowns, Genty had a touchdown, and Noah actually averaged 6.7 yards per carry in this game. So Boise State getting it done through the air and on the ground. Again, not necessarily going up against the strongest defense, but hitting them where they are stronger, at least for this team, going and developing a game plan that said we can go out and we can have a passing game as well. Boise State really coming into their own. It's really hard to find exactly what the identity of this team is because they've been such a good running team, but today they come out with a heavy focus. It was clearly a focus on the pass. They definitely came out emphasizing the running game, 3 straight runs with Lonnie in the first drive, and they had the running game going throughout the whole game, but they made it a point today to practice that passing game. And I think that's going to pay huge dividends. Now, having said that, Green, 24-30, 305 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He also, no interceptions, but he had some really, really close ones. 24 out of 30, but he threw some balls into places where they shouldn't have been. He had at least 2, you could probably argue 3 dropped or strongly potential interceptions there. So 3 probable interceptions that didn't end up because Colorado State, great plays by the offense. There was a great play in the corner of the end zone where the Boise State receiver just ripped it out of the belly of the DB there, preventing interception. There was another one where the DB didn't really get his head turned around in time and it kind of dropped harmlessly to the ground, but it was in the air for a long time. DB with a little bit more awareness could probably pick that off. And then there was another one that hit a DB in the hands and ended up on the ground. So there could have been a much different tale here offensively. Green getting a little bit of luck to go along with some great plays, but definitely still has something to work on. Having said that, he took a huge step forward tonight. The short and medium passing game, he was exceptional on today. I mean, he had some really nice long throws as well, which hasn't necessarily been a strong point, but he had some really nice long throws. But he was dropping accurate dimes. Boise State wide receivers were getting open, which they've struggled to do so far this season, but they were able to get open against this Colorado State defense, and Taylor Green was able to find wide receivers with some strong bullet throws, not just on the run. He was able to do it from the pocket, which he struggled to. So definitely taking a step forward as a quarterback. And obviously, freshman quarterback here for Boise State. If he wants to build and he wants to grow and become a quarterback, he's got to become for a long-term quarterback that can lead Boise State to the level of success they've enjoyed in early and previous years. And definitely what Boise State fans expect out of the quarterback position. He's got to become more than just a running back with an arm. So his legs obviously still there. He had a rushing touchdown today. They weren't the focal point, but they were still a factor, and I think that definitely played today. You could see where Colorado State was still having to consider his ability to run, giving opportunities for the running backs to come up and make some plays here in the running game. So still a playmaker with his legs, but today we saw the rise of his arm, really, I think, kind of feeding off some of those criticisms and showing that he can get it done in the passing game. Now, again, I don't think it's healthy for Boise State to be a pure passing team, and they aren't. They weren't in this game. Even at their peak passing, they were still a team that the run was their biggest threat. And I think that is going to be the biggest factor, the biggest help here for Green as he continues to develop his game, is having a strong running game that the defense is focusing on, allowing him to have some opportunities, some softness there in the secondary that he can find opportunities against. But the fact that Green, who has struggled to even find some of these open players or to put the ball accurately today, definitely taking a step forward, at least in the short and mid-term passing game. And even if he was still making some mistakes, some decisions he shouldn't, and even if some of those longer passes, a couple of them not on the mark, those kind of throwing into those interception areas, he at least is showing that he is able to perform beyond adequately. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as saying exceptionally, but I would say that he is doing a great job of throwing those short mid passes, which are going to work well with a run-based offense, and then occasionally you'll get a chance to throw it deep. So Boise State showing something different today. Again, I wouldn't say that they were highlighting a weakness of Colorado State, because Colorado State has been a team that's been decent against the passing game overall, at least statistically there, like I said, 50th overall against the pass. But it was a team that they found something that worked today, and like I said, Dirk Koetter, he's just showing that he has more experience than any Boise State offensive coordinator has ever had, and he just knows how to pick apart a defense, and he's showing off. And he did a great job today of putting together a game plan that came out and was from the first half all the way through the second half. I mean, I loved Boise State coming out and throwing the ball in the second half when they didn't have to allow Green a chance to end on a positive note, to end on finding some momentum that he can then bring into BYU, and also keeping Boise State's energy and momentum going through into the second half, so we don't get into kind of those Harsin days where Boise State plays heavy and strong in the first half and then kind of lets things off the rail and just coasts to hopefully a victory, sometimes not a victory, in the second half. I love Boise State hitting the ground running and the air in both the first half and the second half. So fantastic job overall. Some highlight players to note was, like I said, Taylor Green. He had a great day. Halani and Genty both back in this one. And, my score prediction was a little lower than this. I think what I was saying was 35-17. But I did say that if George Halani and Genty were back in this one, there were some questions whether or not they would be able to. Both players saying they would be back. Unofficial sources telling me that. But I said, we don't know for sure. It hasn't been confirmed. But I said if they were to be back in this game, it would be a blowout. And it was. Boise State running all over Colorado State. Halani having a great day, over 100 yards rushing again, which is a great step for him after being out last week. He looked like he was 100%. Genty, it was definitely a Halani-focused game today, which is a little bit different than what we've seen so far for Boise State, where they've mixed in both backs at pretty much a near equal pace, probably favoring Halani, but definitely using both. Genty only 9 carries today compared to Halani's 21. So definitely focus on maybe after Halani's been out for a game, getting it back into the flow of the game. Or maybe Boise State's shifting more towards a one-back set where Genty is a change of pace. I would prefer not to see that because I think both backs have so much to offer here for Boise State. Either way, the focus being here on Halani, who looked 100%. Genty looking good in the touches he got. Maybe he was on a limited snap count with whatever he suffered. Again, we were hearing concussion, but whatever it was that he suffered against last week against Air Force, perhaps putting him on a little bit of a limited snap count. Either way, when he was in the game, he performed well. And Noah, again, doing a great job last week, taking over in the run game for Boise State, and he had a great game today. 7 carries, 47 yards, 6.7 yard average for Boise State here running in and then we also had Tyler Crow and also Dudley getting in the game. So Boise State really using all their backs in this one, part of that being the ability to do that in the fourth quarter when Boise State's up by a bunch of points. But Noah got in the game in like the second drive, I think it was, second or third drive of the game. Boise State used in one drive, used all 3 running backs. They used Halani, they used Genty, and they used Noah, and then they used Halani to put the touchdown, to punch the ball in there for the touchdown. So Boise State definitely having a game plan for Noah, rewarding him for stepping up and doing such a good job so far this season. Definitely finding a way to work him in, which I think is excellent. A great way to continue to keep all 3 backs fresh, to take some of that pressure off of Halani and Genty, and allowing all 3 backs to run at their 100% capability. I loved what Boise State put together on offense today. I'm going to give them, even though there was some mistakes, there were some mistakes where it could have been interceptions, and definitely when the backups came in, it looked a little bit more like the old style Boise State offense. Vidlak had a fumble today, and it definitely kind of looked a little bit more like the earlier Hank Bachmeier offense that we saw, where the offensive line wasn't blocking quite as effectively, and there wasn't quite the opportunities in the passing game. But I think that was just because of you have backups in, they're not in the flow of the game. So I'm not going to necessarily weigh that against Boise State. I'm going to give them a solid A in this performance. You could probably maybe argue A+, but there were some mistakes here that I think need to be accounted for, but a solid A performance over here for the offense. 514 total yards of offense, 305 yards passing, and 209 yards rushing. Now, again, I try to keep these videos about 15 minutes. I'm not going to do that today, but I'm going to go a little quicker through defense, special teams, and 3 keys, try to keep this under 20 minutes. But this offense, with what we saw today, deserved to have a little bit of extra time talking about it, because this was something very different, very special, and very promising to see a team that has been very run-focused be able to come out and still have 209 yards rushing, strong running performance, but then put up over 300 yards passing with a strong passing game as well to complement. This is a Boise State team that is becoming exceedingly dangerous as the season progresses. Defense overall, great job here by the defense. Held Colorado State to 170 yards total offense, 167 yards passing, 3 yards rushing. Negative 14 yards rushing in the first half. 3 yards rushing overall. This is the third team that Boise State has held for under 30 yards rushing this season. I can't remember the last time Boise State held a team to less than 10 yards. I know that they have done it before. They've held teams to negative yards, but this season so far, this was the lowest performance overall, or best performance by the run team, but lowest performance allowed by the run team so far, run defense so far this season. 3 yards rushing by Colorado State. This was an amazing game. Divine Obercherry had an incredible game subbing in for Matlock. I mean, you look at this defense, you wouldn't expect it necessarily to have quite this performance because it's been a great defense, but you had 2 leaders out in this one. George Charles out for the season, and then you had Matlock, which I am hearing that is also some kind of head-related, maybe concussion-related as well. But either way, you had 2 of your leaders on defense out in this one, so you thought maybe the defense might take a slight step back. Not the case at all. Divine Obituary, a guy who I have called for in my preseason videos when I was talking with Carl Kiever and previewing the defensive line. I said that this was a guy that I wanted to see on the defensive more. I loved what I saw out of him last season, especially against Fresno State, and I wanted to see him this year. I thought he could make a major impact in the pass rush. Boise State has struggled this year to get consistently to the quarterback. They haven't gotten a lot of sacks, and they have struggled to actually put consistent pressure on the quarterback. Well, putting in Divine Obituary, Boise State dominated the defensive line, dominated them today. I mean, there was no chance, like I said, 3 yards rushing by Colorado State, but the passing game suffered today as well because Boise State was consistently getting the quarterback, at least 5 sacks in this one, 2 of those sacks by Obituary, 7 total tackles overall, and then Cortez Hogan, another new face, second on the team in tackling in this game, another new face who has been, he's a transfer, a junior college transfer, similar to George Tarlis coming in, that a lot of people had a lot of high expectations for, but he's been injured so far. He suffered a foot injury in camp. Well, he came back healthy today, and he was a huge boost as well. 6 tackles, so it was just second to Obituary. 6 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss. Boise State absolutely dominated on the defensive line, and the secondary looked pretty good as well. They gave up a long touchdown, 75-yard touchdown, the only touchdown that Colorado State was able to score in this one. So obviously that's something to work on. But overall, I liked what I saw out of this pass defense, and actually before they gave it the long touchdown, I'd actually written down great pass defense overall. And then they gave up a long touchdown. But then they recovered, didn't allow any more. Boise State's pass defense, which has been a weakness. Now, they are the number 1 pass defense in the country. But again, I think that's impacted a lot by the teams that they've played, a lot of run-focused teams that they've played, and not necessarily teams with top quarterbacks. Well, this is not necessarily a team with a top quarterback, but it's a team that can definitely get the job done in the passing game with a highly talented freshman at the helm. Boise State absolutely shutting him down today, and the pass defense did not look as vulnerable as it has against other teams. Boise State, even against teams that weren't good at passing, has given up opportunities in the secondary consistently throughout the game. Boise State today had a bunch of passes that they were able to deflect, a bunch of plays that they were just well covered in general, really shutting down overall the passing in this game by the secondary. Fantastic job overall by the defense. I am going to give the defense here an A+, because anytime you hold a team to under 180 yards of total offense and 3 yards rushing, this was a fantastic job. And the fact that Obituary is back, it really, that is now part of this defense, and I hope he continues to be a part of this defense moving forward. Really excites me. Cortez Hogan being into the lineup also excites me. You get Matlock back in there. I mean, you just have so much experience and talent on this defensive line. It's absolutely insane. And of course, the rest of the defense behind them has been great all year, and I think they'll continue to be. So once Matlock comes back, while he's gone, he's got some great guys here to help cover for him. Once he comes back, they need to find a way to continue to rotate all 3 of these guys into the lineup because fantastic job overall by Matlock, by Obituary, and by Cortez Hogan in this game. I can't wait to see what happens going forward with Obituary hopefully being part of this defense and a big part of this defense moving forward. All right, special teams overall. Now, this is where it's a little weird because this has been a high-graded item for most of the season, but Boise State didn't look normally, great on special teams. The punting game was much better. I will say that right off the top. James Ferguson, he had a great job, his career game so far, I think, in punting. He had 48.3 yard average. None of these are career highs overall in individual categories, but when you combine them all together, they're career highs. First time he's had a 48.3 yard average, long of 57, and 2 punts inside the 20. He had a rough game against Air Force. It was less than 41 yard average per punt. This game, much better. He looked accurate when his punts hit. They were actually rolling. That was an issue he had against Air Force, that they weren't really kicking up and rolling down the field, which is something you usually get out of Aussie kickers that we weren't seeing. Today, he had a couple punts hit, and he got a long roll. I had one that was, I think there was a 57-yarder that he got a really nice 15 or so long roll after the punt hit. So really a big step forward by him today. Hopefully this is signs of greater things to come. And he also had a punt where he was able to get it off despite heavy pressure, and also took the hit afterwards, which allowed Boise State to get a penalty, and it can stay on the field, getting a first down there on the 4th down due to the penalty. So great job overall by him, and the return game was okay. Boise State fixing the issues there in the returning game with the number confusion. They were having Caples wear number 20 so that there wasn't so much confusion there. But the return game was okay. No major runs, but also no major mistakes. The big issue here for special teams that's going to take them back a little bit is Dalmez missing a field goal. Now, we saw him out kicking off, and that's not something he hasn't been. We didn't start the season as the kickoff specialist, and even going back to the last few games, I don't remember him being the kickoff specialist. It wasn't something I was focusing on, and maybe I missed it, but I believe this is the first game he started as the kickoff specialist, and I could be wrong. I'm going to throw my hands up on that one. I'm not 100% sure if he has been the kickoff specialist the last couple of games, but I know he didn't start the season, and at least coming through the mid part of the season, he was not the kickoff specialist. I don't know if that had any impact on him today. I mean, maybe, I wouldn't say his leg is tired, but, maybe he's kicking the ball differently for the kickoffs versus the field goal. But he had a bad miss. I mean, it was a wide left. It wasn't even close, which is not something you usually see out of Dalmas. Very, very accurate so far in the season. This is only his third mix, 14 out of 17. No concern here for Dalmas. He'll come back. He'll be strong. He'll be better. Coming off of Air Force, you can definitely forgive him having a mistake in this game because he won the game for Boise State versus Air Force. Career day for him, and his first ever, what I would call, collection of game-winning kicks where his leg was the difference between Boise State losing and winning the game. So maybe coming off a little bit of euphoria against Air Force, time for a little bit of a downturn before continuing the rest of the season on the uphill. I did say in my mid-season check-in, which I did with Master Football, I did say that I thought he would miss one more kick the rest of the year. That was prior to the Air Force game. Well, here he has missed his one kick. I expect him to be perfect from here on out. Now, obviously, it's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid, and if he's not perfect, it will be no knock against him. It's not that I'm necessarily saying you got to go out and be perfect. It's just that John Dalmez is the type of player that gives me confidence that he will look at this performance today and say, it wasn't what I wanted. I'm going to come back stronger, and I think we'll see him recover. And again, one kick. Maybe if he'd had some more opportunities, he'd have made those, and it wasn't a difference in this game. I don't think there's anything to worry about. It is, however, just for the purpose of grading, going to impact the grade for today. So overall grade in this one is going to be a B-, and maybe that's being a little generous, but I do think that Ferguson's effort today deserves a high grade. The special teams definitely pulling the kicking game definitely pulling Boise State back, but no major mistakes in the return game, and Ferguson doing a great job in the punting game, which definitely I think pushes Boise State at least into the B range. So B- overall here by the special teams. So offense A, defense A+, special teams B-. You could probably argue C+ with the missed field goal, but again, it didn't make an impact in the game, and it is a rarity, I would say a fluke for Dalmez that we shouldn't see going forward the rest of the season. All right, real quick here, because we are at 22 minutes. This will be under 25, though. I will make sure we're under that. Real quick here to finish it off. Keys to the game for Boise State. How did Boise State do? Find RB3. Well, I think Noah has established himself as an RB3. Halani and Ginty being back in this one didn't necessarily give the amount of time or a number of snap availability that we would have seen maybe Noah Crow and Dudley splitting if we hadn't seen Halani and Ginty in this game. So Halani and Ginty in this game taking those number one reps, which is what you want to see. So it was great that they were back healthy, great that they were back having a strong performance, but Noah definitely filling in well as that RB3 when given the opportunity. I think Boise State's definitely found him, and he's kind of a surprise find because I think most people would have expected Crow to probably be in that RB3, but Noah, he runs hard. He's not necessarily big. He's not a world breaker, but he plays with more passion and spirit than probably anyone I've seen out there. He is a great running back 3 option for Boise State, and it's a little bit of a drop-off, obviously, because Halani and Ginty are next-level talent, but the drop-off's not that steep. Definitely has something to contribute on offense. I love that they continue to work him in. So RB3 definitely found in this one. I'll give this an A performance overall because even with your 2 starters back, they still found a way to work Noah into the game, which I like here by Boise State. Make Vidlac your third and long quarterback. Well, this was a situation where we came in saying, can Green throw those mid-level short passes when he's expected to pass? Well, in the first half, Boise State ended the game 5 out of 10 on third downs, but that was mostly the backups. In the first half, Boise State was 3 out of 5 on third downs, and so a lot of those were obvious passing situations, and Boise State was able to convert those. So I'm going to say that this is a NA. NA grade is no longer needed. I don't think you need to push in this direction. Green has shown that he can throw the ball and accurately, and that receivers, maybe it was working in some new guys, some new faces here. You had McAllister really kind of showing up in this game after playing great last year, and I just said we're going to make 25 or not. I can see it's 24-35 right now, so we're a little bit over 25, but who cares? We're talking about Boise State football. We can do that all day. But McAllister, I love that he has made a presence this season. I raved about him in my preseason previews, and I definitely love that he was a big impact in this game. Long of 33, 2 catches for 48 total. Koetter making himself known in this game as well. So Boise State definitely finding some playmakers that maybe didn't have as big of an impact early on, and I think that combined with the fact that Taylor Green is showing himself coachable and improving as the season goes on, I think that Boise State's going to be fine with him in the passing situations. And Vidlac as a backup who can come in if needed, definitely that option for you. But I don't think Boise State needs to be going anything crazy like I was maybe suggesting before. The proof was shown that Green could go out and pass, and I think that was great that Koetter was able to draw up a scheme today that maybe quelled some of those fears and from Bronco Nation, and also put some confidence here in Taylor Green for when Boise State needs him to be that quarterback who can go and throw. He now knows that he can do it, and we'll see that going forward as I think a big benefit for him and for the team. And establish your run identity. You know, Boise State definitely coming out here and using their passing game more effectively, which turned out to be great, and Boise State turned out to be able to use this. So I think this was maybe a little bit of a missed call on my end. Boise State showing something I didn't think they were able to do, proving me and a lot of other analysts wrong here for Boise State. However, Boise State still established that run identity. So it's not that this key wasn't completely ignored. Boise State still over 200 yards rushing. They were definitely a run-first team, and that running game was definitely setting up the passing game until Boise State started being able to just go crazy with it and throw the ball over the field. The running game is what they came out first and said, we're going to be a running team. We're going to establish that. You're going to fear us on the ground game, and then they'll open up some opportunities in the passing game. So Boise State still, mixing in the passing game and going over their yardage totals, more passing yards than running yards in this game. So definitely more of a pass-heavy offense today. But even in that, and Chris Peterson said this when he was talking in the halftime show, he said Boise State's still going to be a run-first team, and they were still doing that in this game. So even though it was great performance in the passing game, it was a great design, we shouldn't neglect the fact that this is still a run-focused Boise State offense, and that success in the ground game is what is setting up this success in the air. And the combination of the two, like I said, is extremely dangerous for Boise State to opposing teams going forward. So I'm going to give this a B+ because, again, it was a little bit more focused on the passing game, but not a knock. Definitely likes to see that in this game, that Boise State is capable of doing that. So thanks so much for watching. Got another really huge game preview coming up for the Boise State versus BYU game. I can't wait to preview that matchup. It's going to be a fantastic video, so make sure you like and subscribe. Great Boise State content in general, so make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts were on this game and what you think the ceiling is here for Boise State. 6-2, bowl eligible, a team that halfway through the season, especially after losing UTEP, I know I said I don't know if Boise State will make a bowl game. Well, now they're in a bowl game for sure here at 6-2 with the potential to finish out the season very strong. I mean, it's not too far off to say that this team could finish undefeated, as Master Football predicted. This team could finish off the season undefeated 10-2, maybe Mountain West Championship to add on to that at 11-2. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things that could happen, and we'll start talking about those when those start becoming potential possibilities. But one game at a time, obviously. Next one's BYU. Make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you don't miss that video. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Big Blue!